The Philippines has identified the 4 new military bases that it will be giving U.S. troops access to. At least one of them will face the South China Sea.
The United States and the Philippines reaching an agreement that would increase U.S. military presence there. The news comes as tensions escalate between China and Taiwan.
A new military runway in the Philippines has just changed the game in the South China Sea, and the move has put China on high alert. What's unfolding is far bigger than a construction project. It's a calculated power shift, and the details behind it will pull you deep into one of the world's most contested arenas. The freshly completed renovation at Barca Air Base sends a message. Without saying a word, the United States is fully prepared to protect its allies no matter the stakes. This development arrives at a moment of intense friction. Relations between China and the Philippines have surged to new levels of hostility, with Chinese forces ramping up their military presence and claims over contested waters. The $25 million overhaul of Barca's runway has turned the site into a launch point for larger, more advanced aircraft, strategic bombers, massive transport planes, and high-performance fighter jets that previously couldn't land here. Officials describe its purpose as vital for training, humanitarian aid, and disaster relief, yet the deeper role it plays carries far more weight in the balance of regional power. Barca Air Base now stands as a forward hub for U.S. military reach, offering unmatched access to one of the most valuable military zones on the planet. The Extension and Reinforcement Project, launched in March 2023, is the largest ever completed under the Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement between the two nations, a project designed with the clear intent of reinforcing their mutual security goals. The broader wave of U.S. investments in Philippine military infrastructure has been immense, and it's growing. At Barca alone, the U.S. has funded $66 million worth of facilities, including storage tanks and a supply warehouse. For 2024, another $35 million is locked in for building an aircraft parking apron, enabling faster aircraft deployment during emergencies. These upgrades are an unmistakable statement. The U.S. intends to sustain a formidable and ready military footprint in this region, capable of responding instantly when tensions erupt. Barca's position on Luzon, the Philippines' largest island, makes it even more valuable. It sits within range of Chinese military outposts and the shipping lanes that are the lifeblood of regional trade. From here, U.S. forces can project air power across the South China Sea, where China continues to expand its presence through man-made islands fortified with military bases. Every American aircraft parked on Barca's tarmac signals to Chinese commanders that any strike against Philippine territory would trigger a decisive U.S. military reaction. Beijing's pushback was immediate. Officials condemned the runway's expansion as a threat to their national security, accusing Washington of fueling instability in the region. Statements from Chinese military leadership warned that any attempt to use these facilities in ways that challenge Chinese interests will provoke strong countermeasures. State media has gone further, framing the move as part of a sweeping strategy by the U.S. to hem China in and halt its rise as a dominant power in Asia. The timing adds more heat to an already volatile situation. Throughout 2024 and into 2025, Philippine and Chinese forces have clashed repeatedly in disputed waters. In June 2024, an attempt by the Philippine Navy to deliver supplies to its troops nearly broke into hand-to-hand combat after Chinese vessels blocked the mission, a dangerous moment that revealed just how close the region is to a tipping point. Chinese forces have been stepping up their game in the South China Sea, deploying Coast Guard vessels armed with high-powered water cannons and even personnel wielding bladed weapons to block Philippine ships from reaching their waters and resupplying their outposts. In response, the U.S. has moved fast, ramping up its military partnership with the Philippines and bringing in weapon systems that had never been part of the country's arsenal before. One of the most significant moves came in the spring of 2024 when the U.S. Army positioned the mid-range capability missile system known as Typhoon on Luzon, the Philippines' largest island. This system can hit targets at extraordinary distances, delivering both defensive and offensive firepower that shifts the regional's military equation. This deployment marks a sharp rise in America's presence and hands the Philippines a shield and sword it never had before. Joint training has also grown to a scale rarely seen, with massive drills involving thousands of troops. Nearly 9,000 Americans trained side by side with 5,000 Filipino soldiers, backed by 260 Australian personnel and smaller observer teams from Japan and beyond. These weren't ceremonial exercises, they were built to mimic real battle conditions, stress test coordination, and prepare forces for the kind of conflicts the region hopes to avoid, but must be ready to face. The runway upgrade at Barca Air Base ties directly into this larger strategy. It's more than an airstrip, it's an anchor point for U.S. military presence in the South China Sea, eliminating the need to rely on far-off bases or carriers that can be targeted by Chinese missile systems. With it, American forces can arrive within hours, not days, whenever a crisis erupts. That speed alone forces Beijing to rethink its military playbook and undermines years of its area denial tactics. The very sight of U.S. aircraft at Barca signals to Chinese planners that any miscalculation could trigger a rapid American strike. In turn, China has stepped up patrols, sending more ships and warplanes to shadow U.S. movements and flex its own capabilities. Yet behind the tension, the runway has brought tangible benefits to the Philippines' economy, creating jobs, introducing advanced building methods, and strengthening the country's defense technology base through training and shared expertise. These developments have the world's attention. Some nations applaud Washington's presence in the Philippines as a stabilizing force. Others urge all sides to find a diplomatic off-ramp. Still, the symbolism is undeniable. Barca Air Base now stands as a frontline emblem of the wider U.S.-China contest for influence across the Asia-Pacific. Looking ahead, its role will be pivotal. It offers the U.S. a permanent operational foothold, ensuring forces can defend Philippine sovereignty and keep the regional balance from tipping. The psychological weight of this project is heavy. Its very existence tells Beijing that America is here, prepared, and unwilling to yield. It's not just steel and concrete, it's a message in physical form, an ever-present reminder that aggressive moves will be met with overwhelming force. Chinese military playbook is already shifting. Beijing has been forced to approach territorial disputes and regional operations with far more caution. And when you see what this new runway can handle, it's easy to understand why. It can now accommodate the largest and heaviest aircraft in the U.S. arsenal, strategic bombers, massive transport planes, fully loaded and ready for action. Its surface has been reinforced to bear immense weight, and its extension gives aircraft the runway length needed for safe takeoffs and landings under maximum load.
The upgrades go beyond the physical build. Advanced navigation and communication systems have been integrated, enabling missions in any weather, day or night. But this project is more than a local defense measure. It's a critical piece of America's broader strategy to sustain global military dominance and blunt China's reach far beyond the South China Sea. From the Korean Peninsula to the Indian Ocean, this single facility amplifies U.S. power projection across the Indo-Pacific and keeps response times razor-sharp. That kind of reach has underpinned decades of regional stability, and as the pressure in the South China Sea continues to rise, Barca Air Base is set to shape the next chapter of the region's future. It embodies a substantial investment in U.S.-Philippine military cooperation and stands as proof of their joint resolve to safeguard democratic values and keep the region secure. Its message to Beijing is impossible to miss. America is not backing down. This runway is more than reinforced concrete and steel. It's a physical declaration of commitment and a visible warning that the U.S. will act decisively to defend its allies and interests. With its completion, the U.S.-China contest for influence in the Asia-Pacific enters a new phase, one that will echo for years. The runway has become a symbol of American resolve and the enduring bond with the Philippines amid China's growing territorial ambitions. If you found this deep dive into the strategic weight of the Barca Air Base project compelling, now's the time to stay connected. Subscribe, tap the notification bell, and never miss our insider breakdowns on global military moves and shifting alliances. Share this video with those who want to grasp the real scope of the South China Sea power struggle. And tell us in the comments, how do you see America's strategy evolving from here? Explore our other videos on critical bases, high-stakes conflicts, and the intricate web of alliances shaping the 21st century. And if today's breakdown gave you fresh insight into one of the world's most decisive flashpoints, hit that like button. It helps us bring you the stories that matter most.